Jam. Toon Jam.
Hello and welcome to Toon Jam. I am Matt.
And I'm Jamin.
And today we are talking about the Oblongs. Maybe you know the Oblongs, maybe you don't. Well, if you don't, or if you do, here's some information that might settle that. The Oblongs is a 2001 to 2002 American adult animated sitcom created by Angus Oblong and Jace Richdale. It was Mohawk Productions' first venture into animation. The series premiered on April 1st, 2001 on the WB and was removed on May 20th, leaving the last 5 episodes unaired. The remaining episodes were later aired on Cartoon Network's late-night programming block Adult Swim and later aired on Teletoon's Teletoon Unleashed, later becoming a former block Teletoon at Night. The series is loosely based on a series of characters introduced in a picture book entitled Creepy Susie and 13 Other Tragic Tales for Troubled Children. The show was produced by Jobsite Productions and Mohawk Productions in association with Warner Brothers Television, and the theme song for the show was composed by and performed by They Might Be Giants. 13 episodes were produced. All 13 episodes of The Oblongs were released on DVD in October 4th, 2005. Had you heard of The Oblongs before we watched it?
No, I don't think I had. No.
No, I never had. I guess with it being cut off so early,
Yeah.
we probably just never got it over here. Often the case.
Deprived.
Yeah. Unless it was shown on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of Adult Swim stuff that I've not seen as well. But yeah, okay, yeah. So it was new to us. It was fresh.
Yeah.
It stars Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Gene Smart. Pamela Adlon. Lee Delaria. Jason Sklar. Randy Sklar.
The two Sklars.
Also known as, I kid you not, it says this, the Sklar brothers. Becky Tyre, Jeannie Elias, and Billy West.
Billy West. Oh, yeah.
There you go. Oh, and Lorraine Newman as well. Sorry, nearly missed that one out. So there's some names you'll probably know in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was, especially, I mean, Will Ferrell is probably the biggest name, I'd say, on that list in general.
Yeah.
And this is 2001, 2002, so it's before sort of Anchorman and its movie fame, I would say.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily that well known over here, but probably was in America. Obviously, to you and I, and you at home, most likely, Billy West is a big name that you'll know as well.
Yeah.
So there's some good talent in it. What's Twitter saying about the show?
Yeah, Twitter seems to remember the Oblongs fondly. We've got Matt Sh 713599278, who could possibly be a bot, says, I am absolutely the #1 fan of the animated show The Oblongs. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, like, if anyone has ever asked that question before, or anyone does from now, it's Matt Sh on Twitter. Yeah. He is the #1 fan of The Oblongs.
And so, if he is a bot, that could mean that he has downloaded the entire internet. Yeah. And The Oblongs is his favourite show.
Yeah. He's watched every animated show that's ever been made, and The Oblongs came out top.
Yeah. So, it's a possibility. I mean, it might not. Yeah. It might just be a person.
It could be, but we don't believe that at this point.
So
we've also got Miss DOS, weird, as in like DOS. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
More bots. Miss DOS Centalvos says, any streaming service that gives me The Oblongs will get all my money. So listen up, streaming services.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I quite like the name as well, actually, Miss DOS.
Yeah.
That's good. That's quite, that's good.
It's good. And yeah, a shout out to anyone there who can possibly host the Oblongs. People, there's money to be made.
There you go.
Moolah to be made. We've also got Lana Montana, with 2 A's at the end of both those, says, why do I have the urge to watch the Oblongs? Why?
Yeah, you tell us.
Yeah. There must be some sort of, that must be like a condition. This probably has a name. So, that's out there. Yeah. Maybe you at home, you also have the urge to watch the Oblongs.
Yeah.
And we can start a community or, like a help group for people that have the thing.
That have the urge.
Yeah. And finally, we have Crin Hog, who says, the Oblongs was ahead of its time and the main source of why I'm weird. So,
okay. Well,
so yeah, positive, and also understanding there, being like, oh, okay, I'm an Oblongs child. That's what's wrong with me.
And you know what? If you found a show that can, you can associate with that much, then own it.
Good for you.
Yeah,
good for you.
Own
good
it.
for you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's many shows that we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
If only we had David the Gnome growing up, really.
Oh man, we'd be different human beings altogether.
Yeah, I mean, that's another story entirely, and you can check out our David the Gnome episode in our backlog over on YouTube. But yeah, so general good stuff for the Oblongs.
Yeah.
It's not a thing
people seem to like it.
It's negative.
No.
So okay. So we've got that's what Twitter thinks.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about what we think. I mean, it's very of the time, but at the same time very different, I would say.
Yeah.
There's not really much out there. I mean, you can kind of see the wheelhouse it's in, and it reminds me a bit of, in a way, Duckman.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily the sort of story or anything, but it's just got that similar feel where it's like those late 90s, early noughties adult animated series. This is before like the sort of everything became, I mean, what is it now? It's like Family Guy.
Yeah.
It's basically before Seth MacFarlane kept making the same show over again. It's like when things were different.
The Seth MacFarlane continuum.
Yeah. But this reminds me of those sort of, like when the internet was really taking off.
Yeah.
And you started getting Flash cartoons. This has got the feel of some of them Flash cartoons. Yeah. Especially visually. Like the art style.
It's really odd. Like the character design and stuff is quite cool because they're all just like bizarre. Well, most of them are like bizarre mutant life forms.
I mean, it's all got like on the nose metaphor for, the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer.
Yeah.
So basically, they're all freaks because the rich are pumping down their waste and turning them into like mutants. Yeah. It's
basically about class struggle, is what it's about.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, in a slightly humorous way.
Phew.
Well, yeah, they are literally mutants now. There's pretty much everyone's got like one too many, not enough, deformed limbs. Like limbs are like wrong on everyone, or body parts, or there's someone's got an extremity that just looks like a weird worm coming out their head or whatever.
Yeah, I mean that was strange to look at.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all basically like mutated in some way, aren't they?
Yeah. Which I mean, I think just straight away makes it kind of interesting to watch in a way that like it's not usually what I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, it's quite an ugly show.
Yeah, yeah.
But the art is very like it does. I'm trying to think what it is specifically, but it really reminds me of that sort of Flash cartoon era. The art style, you know, because it's quite simple, isn't it? Like just dots for eyes, lines for mouths. But the animation clearly isn't Flash.
No. Yeah.
And if it is, it's pretty good.
Top tier Flash.
Yeah, top tier Flash, absolutely. So let's sort of revisit that sort of the metaphor, if you will. Do you think it deals with that well?
I mean, like, maybe as the show goes on, it sort of tackles it a bit more. I mean, it was pretty obvious on this one. Like, pretty much the first scene was like a rich guy opening the door to read the newspaper headline, "Rich get richer." So, it was like, okay, this is what's happening now. Like, there's like no subtlety involved there. Like, I don't think they wanted it to be subtle, really. Like, clearly they.
No, I mean, it's super on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But it makes for a compelling set of characters, because you realize everybody else is basically poor and struggling, and like this episode is mainly about they've got financial worries, like the dad's trying to make ends meet, and so it's a constant struggle when you're being poisoned by the water, like the chemicals. He literally has no limbs, so he's just like, he's just a torso with a head, so he does everything with his mouth. And they've got kids to feed. It's got to pay the bills. He's got to go to work, and it's all about him.
Thing, like in this episode, is he is like his boss has said he's claimed too many things on his health benefits.
Yeah.
So if he on his health plan at work, so if he claims another thing on his health plan, then he's gonna lose his health plan.
Yeah.
Which is essentially saying you've lost your health plan without saying it, isn't it?
Yeah. Which
is pretty hilarious and ridiculous, and it's something you could actually imagine happening.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we have like the NHS over here, so it's not as much as an issue here, because you don't really have to pay for stuff. Like, if I fell over now and hurt my elbow, I could potentially go up to the hospital and someone would probably sort it out for me, and I don't have to take my wallet with me, so that's nice. Whereas other countries, that's not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, surely that is terrible. It must be horrible, like knowing how much you have to pay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not, that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But essentially, that's kind of the thing in this, and it's stuff like that kind of, I suppose, that's kind of the reason behind the show in a way. Is that the reason? Maybe not the right word, but it's the central. It's what the show's sort of trying to say. Yeah,
it's kind of revolving around that, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's also kind of trying to do this sort of social boundaries with it, and so we see the sort of the son, like the kid who seems to be like the main kid. So you've got three kids. One is like a girl that's pretty silent, that has this weird lump coming off her head.
Yeah.
Then there's some conjoined twins that are just constantly fighting. And then you've got just like a bald kid with one hair on his head. And he's sort of like the main character for the kids, at least.
Yeah, in this episode, definitely.
Yeah. And you sort of see him with his friends in essentially like a freak school, but they want to go to real school.
Yeah.
And then so he goes there, and it's all about him sort of trying to fit in.
Yeah.
and he gets bullied and stuff. And I mean, it kind of goes in a weird direction with this. So there's an alien girl.
Yeah, which kind of comes out of nowhere.
It kind of comes out of nowhere and goes nowhere as well.
Mm.
Like, the more I think about that, actually, what was that all about?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a strange, like, it's just a tragic first love tale, I think. You know, like he fell in love with a girl. She turned out to be an alien. She did weird experiments on him, and then she like self-vaporized herself, and then she was gone. You know, much like many of your first loves, they're just
they're in
a blink of an eye. It's all gone. They're all vaporized, and you're like, ah.
So it's character building for him.
Yeah.
So first minute, and then there's the whole. The one thing I did think was a bit sort of backwards is he goes to a bar and then works as essentially like a guy that people can throw.
Yeah.
Because he's got no arms and legs.
Mm.
And I mean, there's a lot of that kind of stuff where it's like, well, I'm not sure that's okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because there are people with no arms and no legs.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I feel like that's just slightly, but then it's at a quote unquote midget tossing place. And then there's a load of sort of dwarves that are being thrown around, and they kind of get angry because he's stealing their turf.
Yeah.
But all their voices, and now this is where I thought it was a bit like kind of a bit too far. They all talk like they're like gnomes or something.
Yeah, I think it's Billy West's person voice. Yeah.
So, and that's where it's a bit like, why are they talking like that?
Mm. Yeah, it's very like Wizard of Oz style.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that was the point, but you know, you kind of like I know it was trying to be political, but I felt like it was probably a bit offensive.
Yeah, could well have been. Yeah, right. It's hard to know at this point, like, but I mean, like, so because with this, it's like everyone's kind of got a disability, so it's like, it's almost like I don't know who has and who hasn't, and like you don't know like who's gonna get upset about what at this point. Like, I mean, I personally know a girl who was offended by Monsters Inc. because she had one working eye, and so Mike Wazowski was offensive to her.
Oh, and really?
So, yeah. So, you know, some people get upset. I mean, so I mean, this whole show could be a nightmare for
I mean,
person. I would recommend not watching it if that's the case.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? In like, it's such a tricky area, you know, and it all depends on things like who is it made by, and stuff like that, and what kind of, how relative is it to them? Yeah.
I mean, their intention as well, obviously, because if they're literally just pointing fun at people with this specific thing, then obviously that's not cool. But,
yeah, exactly.
You know, but if there's something else to it, then, you know, maybe it's worth, you know, even if it just means like, oh, maybe people will talk about it now, like, by raising it. I think
it's definitely of a time when, like, early 2000s, they still hadn't really, I don't think, got on to the point of, you know, you can't just go about making fun of disabled people.
Yeah.
Because as I remember, a big point, do you remember, what was that film with, Stuck on You?
Yeah.
Was that with
Greg Kinnear? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and was it Matt Damon?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember that being a big thing at the time. Like, this is well offensive, and things kind of changing after that almost.
Yeah,
it feels like. I mean, I've not seen that, but I imagine there's some of the humor in that is similar to some of the humor in this.
Yeah, because like you said, there's literally conjoined twins in this. So.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's, you know, you chuckle and you think nothing of it, but then you think, like, you know, if you actually had that it's not that funny, really, is it?
No. But
it's such a sticky wicket.
Yeah, that is the world of the Oblongs. It's like literally, like I say, everyone's got a thing. So I mean, there's probably someone out there who's like the flip side, where it's like, oh, they've all kind of got a disability, so like whatever, like it's free reign in the Oblongs. In the world of the Oblongs, you know, I wish the world was really like the Oblongs and everyone had something, so that nobody had anything at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, to be fair,
as a listener, what you thought, if you've seen the Oblongs, whether you're now reassessing it or you would defend it. Obviously, no, we're not trying to get heated debates going or anything like that. But I would just genuinely like to hear opinions on it.
Yeah, I mean, I say that everyone's got it, but like the rich people in the Oblongs are fine, aren't they? Like they're the ones that are, you know, quote unquote perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's the, you know, that is the issue here. Yeah,
because you're literally saying that it's basically like making them like that.
Yeah.
Poor. It's like a visual representation of like a tough and bad life.
Yeah, which I mean, I guess is kind of clever in a way that, like, you know, there's a lot of big companies have caused, you know, I mean, through drugs, through like, you know, spreading toxins and polluting and stuff, have actually caused people to have like disabilities. So I mean, Oblongs, man, they're hitting the hard questions.
Yeah,
hitting the hard topics.
It's like, are they actually addressing that?
Yeah.
Because by the time you finished watching it, are you aware of that? But I mean, we've only watched the first episode, so yeah, maybe you are.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, this is another thing, is that, like, is it enough to conjure up the questions? Like, does that kind of? I mean, obviously, it's still out for you know, the jury's out on that one. Like, can people get away with that? You know, sometimes it's, you know, this is a fine line of whether they're poking fun at things or not, or, you know, whether they've sort of given a sort of a slight, you know, bad angle to something. But the fact that, like, it causes people to talk about it, people to have conversations about these things, like, maybe some people don't realize that these undertones are in there, or that, like, you know, the real world works in a way that's kind of similar to what's going on in the Oblongs. But the fact that they've brought it up in a way, you know, does that sort of give them a sort of, you know, a pass in a way? Is that cool? That's something else to ask folk about.
Are they like who's going to bring it up? Because if you don't notice it, then you're not going to bring it up, are you?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it has to be somewhat obvious, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, it has to tell you at some point. Like, and that's the trouble, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I guess time will. Yeah,
and as you say as well, it's down to the person. Like, not everyone's going to be the same. Like, some people will be upset, some people won't be, some people won't notice at all, and it'll just be a weird cartoon to them. Like, which I imagine a lot of people are. Yeah.
And I guess there's all sorts of arguments for and against. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like the rich are clearly the villains, shall we say? Yeah. In the piece, so yeah, there's all sorts going to and fro. I would like to say it would be interesting to see what people think. But, you know, as always, keep it general, thoughtful, and, you know, friendly.
That's it.
Just interesting points. That's all we want.
That's all we want.
That's all we want.
That's all we're asking for.
Just having interesting points. Okay, well, on that note, I think, you know, we've covered the Oblongs in as much depth as we can. So shall we go over to our ratings?
Yes. Are times hard? Are you struggling to pay the bills? Well, come on down to Richie Farms, here where we hire all types of workers. But things get really interesting when you get inside the factory.
That's right. We're working hard all day and all night, and with barely any breaks. So don't worry, you'll get paid. And at minimum wage, you can be sure that you're gonna earn yourself something.
And that something sometimes comes in the form of a limb you weren't expecting, or a growth that turns out it can talk.
Hey, second head, how are you today? Why, I'm brand new.
And brand new is the way that we do things here at Richie Farms. We'll get brand new families, come down to our brand new factory, and make brand new green products. We like things green just like our water.
That's right. If you drink just 1 liter of our water, your skin will be green for days. We always say here, black or white, we don't care. You'll always come out green.
Green is the color of cash, and that's what we like here at Richie Farms. And you'll be seeing green all over. It's on the walls, it's on your body, and it's in all our cafeteria meals.
That's right. Everything we serve is green, but none of it started green, so don't worry. None of those icky vegetables.
Ew, vegetables? Grass? No way. All of our products are made from or turned into some sort of animal byproduct that sometimes has mutant properties. But you won't have to worry about that just yet.
That's right, and don't worry. We're making products for everyone. Now we want to address a problem. A lot of people have said that our products turn the soil toxic. I don't know what that's all about, because sure, maybe some people come out bad, but I can tell you, often they don't, and every time they do.
And that's our promise here at Richie Farms. Come on down, bring the whole family. Richie Farms, where the product is you.
Okay, so here at Toon Jam, we have a 3-point rating system that goes as follows. So, thumbs up, the NHS. We got to say it.
Hey.
Hey, you know, we're both fans of not having to pay for our healthcare. What can I say? Thumbs down, toxic companies, you know, that are pumping into the earth. I mean, it's genuinely a problem, guys. Check it out. And shaky middle, our coverage today. So, if that didn't make any sense, good, bad, you know, in the middle, not too, meh. The Oblongs, episode 1. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a strange show, and I think, you know, that's what kind of sells it to a lot of people. It's you know, it looks kind of weird. The characters look weird. They're in weird situations. There's a lot of strangeness going on. A lot of the side characters, like the kids' friends, were all somewhat psychotic in a way, which was, you know, could be quite funny. It's different, which is nice. It's not a cookie cutter cartoon. So it's good in that way. I did enjoy that. And I think it is doing certain things, even if it just, you know, makes a couple of guys who have a podcast talk about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it did that. It did that. Fair play to you, Oblongs. You know, you're a good voice cast. And overall, I think the episode went to some places I wasn't expecting as well. You know, with the alien girlfriend and, you know, getting several jobs at the weird in the bar. That's not usually where I go to, you know, look for jobs, but, you know, maybe some people do, so fair play to you. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it, and I think as it goes on, maybe there'd be more to it. You know, more weirdness, which is, you know, I'm kind of I do enjoy the weirdness game. So I think for me, it's probably like a high. Let's give it like a high middle, because I'm not fully sold on it, but I don't know, like, I'm not sure whether there's much that I was actively complaining about. So maybe it might be a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Oh, I didn't see that coming there. The old
curveball.
Oh boy. Okay, so a thumbs up. Okay. Yeah, I it wasn't bad.
Mm.
It was funny, made me laugh. Like I say, it had a good cast. It did address some things, and obviously it's difficult when you start diving into stuff, especially when it comes to things that offend people. You can overthink it sometimes, especially when you don't even know, you're just assuming. And you have to be very aware of that, I think, with stuff like this. It is addressing things, it's being political, so you kind of have to think about what is it saying, and it's what it's really saying. It is all about, it's clearly about the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. Maybe it doesn't show it in the most tasteful way in retrospect, but it still does show it. And like you say, it is a thing that happens. You know, pollution does cause these things. It's not like made it up. It does happen. So, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, you can see that they are real people. I mean, they're not real people, obviously, but, you know, they're people trying to live their lives, if you get me. So I think, you know, you should probably take out that whole, you know, thought that it might be too offensive, and think about it for what it is. It is funny. It has it's definitely original. It's weird because when it began, I was like, it didn't feel like an original concept almost. But as I watched the whole episode, it was a bit weird and didn't really match anything I could think of. The whole alien thing, and it was just daft, wasn't it? And
yeah,
it had something to it, definitely. But I can equally see why it didn't last.
Yeah.
Because it didn't sort of, and it is only the first episode, but it didn't feel like it fit anywhere almost. And I don't know if I liked the overall feel of it. So for me, I'm going to be a middle.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's
fair. I think that's fair.
It wasn't bad, and it was funny. Like, I can't fault it on that. There were a few bits that did make me chuckle. So
yeah,
you know, it went by quite quickly. So there you go, and up in the middle. That's pretty good.
Yeah, good for
that's
the other
one. Okay, well, that's another episode done. I hope that you enjoyed that. If you did, please feel free to rate and review us. Maybe you've got some thoughts, like I say, on Oblongs. Please let us know, even if it's just, yeah, I really liked it, or nah. I mean, I don't know what I'd reply to nah. Well, you know,
we'll have to read into that one ourselves. That's how it goes.
Yeah, maybe we'll just retweet it.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be enough. Either way, you know, feel free to get in touch, and you can do so on the 3 toxic pollutions of the internet: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at ToonJamPod. If you'd like to support us and get a few bonus episodes, you can do so by heading over to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/ToonJamPod.
Yep.
And you can also head over to our merchandise store if you want to pick up some Toon Jam themed merchandise. You can get yourself a face mask or some t-shirts, or what there's all sorts on there, isn't there?
Yeah, tea towels and and stuff. Yeah,
and it's not just our logo, it's, you know, some of the many you know, arguably hilarious sketches that we've produced on the show as well. So there's references to all sorts, so check it out. I mean, even if you just want to have a look, and you can find that at bit.ly/ is it Toon Jam Shop?
Yes,
bit.ly / Toon Jam Shop. And yeah, find some stuff on there. Otherwise, just thank you for listening. Like I say, I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, as always, you stay jammy.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening. If you want to help the show keep going, you can be extra jammy by heading over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/ToonJamPod. Here you can get a shout out on the show or unlock bonus episodes. Ratings and reviews anywhere you listen to the podcast also really help us out. So thank you, and stay jammy.